This is the Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic, and in today's video I'm going to cover its 5 most important features and answer your most frequently asked questions about this watch, like how does it wear, especially on smaller wrists? Is the steel bracelet really worth it, and how does it feel? What makes this watch and, Hamilton so special? What are other options, and many more, so let's get started. Okay, as always, let's start out with the hard facts so we know what's going on here. What I have here are the 2 main sizes of the Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic, one in 42mm in diameter, the other one with a 38mm diameter. The 42 has a height of 11mm and a lug-to-lug of 53, whereas the smaller 38mm measures a lug-to-lug of 47mm and a height of 11mm too. So, as you can see, the differences are quite significant, and it also shows in the lug width itself, as the 42mm fits a 22 spring bar, but the 38 only a 20mm. So it's not a one size fits all here, but I'll get to that in a minute. I did order the stainless steel version, so it is a very classic full steel case with a polished bezel and a brushed rest of the surface, sapphire crystal on top, and a see-through case bag with a 3-link steel bracelet attached to it that closes in a regular folding clasp. The dial is a slightly polished deep black with white Arabic numerals, including a 24-hour scale, as well as a seconds marking in fiber steps. The seconds hands has a bright red arrow tip, and the hands are these, how can I explain it as weirdly as possible? I would call them the reverse style Dauphin hands. There's also a classic date window at 3 o'clock on a white background with an added white frame to make it stand out a bit more. I'd also like to quickly touch on Hamilton's history as a watch company, because a lot of you were quite intrigued by it and wanted to know what Hamilton was all about. So Hamilton used to be a fully American watch company founded in 1892 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. During World War II, Hamilton switched its business to providing watches for the military only, whereas before they had very successfully sold most of their watches to the American Railway and private consumers like you and I, which explains their heavy focus on field and aviation watches until this day. In 1969, the Hamilton Watch Company, as it was called, ended its American manufacturer, and eventually it became integrated into the Swiss Swatch Group by a series of mergers and acquisitions. So yeah, in about 20 years' time, they will be a Swiss manufacturer as long as they have been an American one, to put it into perspective. Right, I know that the majority of you out there really badly wanted to know how this one fits, not only on smaller or bigger wrists in general, but also how the 42 and the 38mm compare. So let's have a look. So you can see here on my smaller wrist, even the 42mm wears not as big as I expected it to. I mean, sure, it is super large, but thanks to the heavily curved lugs, which look great by the way, it does not hang over as much as I thought it would. I could even, get away with it, I think. Ugh. But yeah, if you would, rather be safe than sorry, I recommend the 42mm size for anyone above, I want to say 170mm, so the watch face does not look as lost on your arm. But hey, as you can see here with the 38mm, it works really well on smaller wrists. Since field or Flieger watches are intended to be bigger anyways due to their historic background, I see no issues here. A smaller size would take away from the character of the watch, so the 38mm definitely gets my IBWC stamp of approval for smaller wrists. And whereas the 42mm is a very close miss, it still gets the nod of appreciation from me. I really am quite positively surprised here. Another very frequently asked question was about the bracelet. Is it worth spending more money on it compared to the leather or textile strap options? How does it feel, and what about that weird line down the middle of the center link? As mentioned before, this is what looks like a classic 3-link bracelet, though the middle link has this slit down the center. If you look very closely and try to wiggle around a bit, you can see that it's actually 2 links put together to make up one bigger one. I'm not really sure why though, since this part hardly moves when you wear it. I don't think it is meant to add, to the flexibility of the bracelet, but should it be only decorative? I don't get why they would put 2 links together instead of just, carving a line down the middle. Anyways, the bracelet overall feels good, but not incredible. There's definitely a difference compared to the recent, for example, Tissot bracelets, since they feel more smooth on the arm and don't rattle as much. The best comparison would be that to a, for me, Seiko bracelet, though the Hamilton clasp feels much sturdier and well built. To adjust the bracelet and the clasp, you will need tools because there's no option to quick adjust, which is to be expected for that price range. So like I said, the bracelet is totally fine. A bit rougher on, you know, the link's edges and rattly, but totally within the things you would expect when it comes to watches in that price segment. I'd still go for a steel bracelet and then just, you know, accessorize it later on with other straps. But I will get to that in a minute. Okay, let's move on to the movement. Just so you know, the Khaki Field is also available as a quartz for anyone out there looking for a less maintenance option to an automatic movement, but what I got here is the standard automatic one. It's IPC H10 in both versions with a power reserve of 80 hours, which is pretty nice, I have to say. The movement itself is based on an ETAS C07-611, which has also been used by other watchmakers like Rado, Mido, or Satina, so something fairly popular within that price range. The rotor is very nicely decorated and fits the style of the watch, being a bit more, you know, streamlined, since this is a field watch after all, but also looking fancy enough to not bore you when looking at it. It winds nicely, but it's on a screw down crown, by the way. So, you know, no bad surprises here, but I guess I didn't expect anything crazy anyway, since I mean, this is ETA after all. It's solid. What do you expect? Its water resistant is up to 100 meter or 10 bar, which is, I think, plenty and totally enough for when you want to go swimming with this watch. I guess anything crazier than that might be testing its limits, but yeah, 100 meter is totally fine, which makes this a really good all-rounder. Okie dokie, let's get to the pricing of this one. So the 38mm on a steel bracelet with a black dial will set you back $625, and same goes for the 42, so it's the same price. The leather strap options are a bit less expensive with $575 for both, but since it's only, you know, a $50 price difference to the steel, I would personally go for the steel option and then, you know, like I said, accessorize it later on. I know you wanted to know some alternatives to this one, so here are my suggestions. Alternative 1, the Seiko SPB 159, often referred to as the Baby Alpinist because it's a bit smaller with a 38mm diameter. It sits at about $700, so, you know, it is a bit more expensive, but you get a dial that is less busy with the added bonus of some cool cathedral-styled hands as well as a date. It doesn't feel as technical though, and, you know, might be a bit too playful for some, but definitely a cool alternative if you are looking for other options with the same price and quality range. The alternative number 2 would be a Timex for when you just want to, you know, try out the look and, you know, feel of a field watch. So you could also try out the Timex Expedition Scout for just below $100 if you're still, you know, a bit unsure about the entire field watch genre. I know that some of you were asking for a comparison with Tissot, but I'm having a hard time finding something comparable from Tissot because they are inherently so different to me from each other. But what I can say is that I would still place Tissot a bit higher in terms of perceived overall quality. The past couple of Tissots I have reviewed on my channel, they've really impressed me, and so far this Hamilton still has some catching up to do in quite a few departments. Right now that we have the 5 most important features covered, it is time to quickly share my likes and dislikes, so you know how, you know, I generally feel about it, I guess. I think it is no surprise that I'm a big fan of whenever a watch manufacturer offers a very popular watch in different sizes, so anyone, or at least let's say most people, can buy the watch according to their own personal preferred size. So yes, thank you Hamilton for offering a 38mm diameter version. I also like that you can order the bracelet in a preferred bracelet size when you know, order the steel option, so you don't have to fiddle around with the adjustments because they're pin pushers and I hate that. Though I am, if I'm being really honest here, not the biggest fan of field watches. I don't mind the look of the Khaki Field at all. Yes, the dial is really packed, but everything, you know, on it is at least cohesive and done in the same font. It's also a watch I think I'm going to give to my dad because it's really easily legible. Overall, this watch feels very much like a dad watch to me because he's always, you know, looking for a high contrast watch dial with big numbers because of his eyesight. So yeah, it's a perfect dad watch. But yeah, I still do have to agree when it comes to the busyness of the watch dial. It is really packed, though I don't mind it, and though I understand the importance, or, you know, let's rather say the heritage of why a field watch dial looks the way it does. I'd still prefer perhaps a less modern approach and rather go for a classic look, like the one on a Stowa, for example. Oh, and if you, by the way, want to learn more about field watches or Flieger watches in general, especially German Flieger watches, I recommend checking out my video on German Flieger watches and their history. I will link it for you in the description box down below. The date window is okay too, but I could do without the white frame because I think it makes it look very old and outdated, but not in a good way. Other than that, I think that the Hamilton Khaki Field is a pretty cool and, sounds weird to say, but handsome watch that manages really well to capture the essence of a field watch and translates it into a kind of more modern look without making it feel forced. So if you are looking for a field watch below $1,000, I am pretty sure that you won't find anything cooler than this one. And that was all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, you should definitely subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on the next one. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!